If you're into statistics and computing, you'll be kicking yourself for not being Brad Efron, who developed a very ingenious technique called bootstrap.
The first role is played by the algorithm, which is answering the question they're interested in. The second role is to say how accurate the answer is. So the bootstrap is hardly ever the star. It's the best supporting actor.
Today, Brad Efron's bootstrap and Fisher's permutation test will indeed be the protagonists of this story.
So here is the ideal world, what we would love to do in statistics. There is a population out there, and what we would love to do is draw many samples from the population. So here I show 5 samples. For each of those statistics, compute the statistic of interest. For example, if we're trying to estimate mu, our statistic would be X bar. We'd compute those X bars, collect those, and the distribution of all those X bars is the sampling distribution. Well, in practice, we can't do that. We've only got one sample.
And we'll need more than one sample, but they're expensive. We could know how an estimator, like the mean, is distributed if we could repeat this sampling experiment over and over. Although inference helps us obtain the distribution for the mean, there are cases with no clear theoretical result. Does anyone know how a median is distributed? And a ratio between means? And a quartile? Here, we can't rely on theory. Perhaps it's time to experiment.
Venimos al laboratorio para explicar los conceptos del remuestreo aleatorio.
This isn't just any lab. At CENIC, there are data scientists, led by Fatima, who are working on modeling everything related to heart health. We're going to ask her to explain, at a beginner level, 2 of the most famous ideas of random resampling, bootstrapping, and permutation testing. Although there are more ways to resample, which is a technique that extensively utilizes the available sample to try to obtain results that are difficult to approach theoretically.
Por cierto, este ejemplo lo hemos sacado del libro de Rafael Irizarry y Michael Love.
And it's a statistical problem involving mice in a laboratory. But rest assured, we promise that for the making of this video, none of them have suffered.
Mirad estos 24 ratones. 12 de ellos están tomando una dieta rica en grasa y otros 12 dieta control. Queremos saber si esta dieta rica en grasa aumenta el peso de los ratones, pero como veis tenemos muy poquitos datos. ¿Cómo haríamos el test?
Initially, we could perform a difference of means test using data from 2 populations, mice with a high-fat diet and mice without that diet. However, to proceed, I need to determine the test statistic. Should I assume equal population variances? Yes or no? Additionally, to derive the distribution of the test statistic, I must assume that the population is normally distributed, given the small sample size and inability to rely on the central limit theorem.
Si quieres extraer conclusiones empíricas y no quieres entrar en simulaciones y estás dispuesto a suponer normalidad, hazlo, pero no dejes de dejar explícito eso supuesto. La alternativa es que simules tu modelo.
El problema es que asumir que los pesos se distribuyen de manera normal puede ser algo que esté muy lejos de la realidad y con una muestra tan pequeña no tenemos forma de comprobarlo. Aquí es donde entra la computación. El primer método es el llamado test de permutación.
Recall that we have 2 groups, control and treatment. In the lab, mice have been randomly assigned to each group, and after some time, our scientists weighed them. The difference in average weight between the control group and the treatment group is 3.2 grams.
Cogemos todos los ratones y los mezclamos como si todos tuvieran la misma dieta. Una vez que hemos hecho esto, escogemos 2 grupos al azar de 12 ratones cada uno, donde tenemos mezclados en cada uno de estos grupos ratones en dieta rica en grasa y ratones en dieta control.
The idea is very good. In fact, it was Fisher who introduced it a century ago. Every time we perform this permutation, we are shuffling mice that have received the diet and mice that have not into the treatment and control groups. By performing these permutations many times, we simulate how the difference in means is distributed when no effect should be detected.
Aquí hemos hecho una primera permutación. Fijaos que en ambos grupos tenemos una mezcla de ratones en ambas dietas. Ahora podemos calcular la media de pesos en cada uno de los grupos, su diferencia, y a mí me ha salido 0,2.
But to perform all the permutations we want, it's better to use the computer. To begin with, we have the weight data for the treated group and the control group. Now, we are going to replicate the following operations 1,000 times. First, we randomly shuffle the mice using the sample function, so we can no longer know which group they originally belonged to. We select a new vector of control mice, which are the first 12 of the vector we've named S, and the new vector of treated mice, which are the second 12. For each replication, we calculate the difference in the mean weights for each group, and then we can visualize the histogram representing the distribution of the mean difference under the null hypothesis.
Si volvemos a nuestra distribución nula, con las diferencias de esas permutaciones que hemos hecho juntos, veremos que solo un 1% de las permutaciones nos daban una diferencia de pesos superior a ese 3.02. Ese es el p-valor.
This method is useful when we want to test a null hypothesis with any statistical procedure, even if we don't know how its statistic is distributed under the null. We could have done the same, for example, testing the difference in medians. As you can see, we don't even need to assume any population distribution of the variable of interest. Additionally, the observations should be exchangeable. If, for example, we had chosen mice subjected to the high-fat diet with some genetic disease instead of randomly, the permutation test wouldn't be very useful.
Otro método de remuestreo aleatorio es el bootstrap. La diferencia con la técnica anterior es que aquí el muestreo se realiza con reemplazamiento. Para que lo entiendas.
Bootstrap es un poco más complicado porque estás diciendo, mi muestra es como la población y voy a tomar muestras aleatorias con replacement. El bootstrap a mí, yo de hecho es algo que ahora que me haces esa pregunta me debo poner a pensar en cómo poder explicarlo mejor.
Let's see if we can...
And here we are mimicking everything that we did in real life. We draw samples from the data in the same way that we drew the original sample from the data. So if it was a simple random sample, then we'll draw a simple random bootstrap sample. If it was a stratified sample, we'll do stratified bootstrap samples.
We return to the bootstrap world of Ponferrada Castle, where we aim to obtain the empirical distribution of the visitor's mean age. We have a sample of 12 individuals, including my sister Mercedes and my brother-in-law Danny. Every time we perform the drawing with replacement, we obtain a bootstrap sample to which we calculate the mean. In each iteration, each individual has an equal probability of being chosen. Could someone take care of the baby?
Hey!
Some individuals may be selected more than once. Look, the 1,000th sample? How is this result possible? This is a drawback of Bootstrap since there's replacement, sometimes outliers, like my sister and brother-in-law for not being cartoons, maybe overrepresented in some samples. As you can see, we can obtain the empirical distribution of the mean age, which in our case doesn't appear normal, and moreover, we can easily calculate a confidence interval using the percentiles of the distribution, which are the black bars here.
Aquí tenemos dos urnas, una con los ratones en dieta alta en grasa y otra con los ratones control. Saco un ratón de cada urna, apunto la diferencia de peso y los vuelvo a meter en cada urna. Repito el proceso.
Look, as it was happening in the Ponferrada Castle, when we randomly draw, some mice come up more than once. This is how different versions of the Bootstrap samples are generated. What shape will the distribution of the sample mean difference in weights take?
El histograma que hemos construido gracias a este experimento de bootstrapping representa la distribución empírica del estadístico que estábamos buscando, sin necesidad de haber hecho ninguna asunción acerca de la distribución de la población.
The code is very simple. Now for both the treatment and control groups, we use the sample function, but notice, with replacement. Every time we go through here, it creates a bootstrap sample for each group and calculates the difference in weight means. By the way, with a slight change, you could do the same for the difference in medians, for example.
Parece fácil, ¿verdad? Sin embargo, estas técnicas tienen sus pros y sus contras.
The bootstrap relies on the available sample, acting as the total population in that ideal world that Tim mentioned at the beginning. And we visit that pseudo-population many times to collect those as special samples. Therefore, if the data doesn't represent the true population, everything we do will be quite questionable. Also, don't forget, we work under the assumption that individuals are independent. And you might be wondering why you need to know all this. Well, for example, to work at Google. Isn't that right, Tim?
Yes. So Google is doing experiments all the time. If you go do a search in Google, you're probably in the active arm of 100 experiments, in the control arm of 100 times that many experiments. So continually doing experiments to try to improve the system.
The idea is as follows. When we conduct searches, perhaps, we click on an ad. Previously, Google has randomly chosen us and has assigned us configuration A or B to see which one works better. All the data associated with what we do ends up on one of the servers. To make it more complicated, the information collected from the same person isn't stored together. It's in one of these mappers, where it's organized according to some criterion, for example, by individual, brand, country, and number of clicks. Then, in the reducer phase, the necessary information is extracted according to some criterion and based on what was obtained in the mappers. For example, aggregating clicks by individual and brand. From there, that data reaches Tim, who is the scientist who will study it.
And so restructuring that data is very expensive, whereas there are resampling methods that let you get the standard errors without doing that restructuring. We can do a single pass through the data to compute standard errors using resampling methods, so it ends up being computationally faster.
We have no clue about the distribution of clicks on Google Ads among the population. Additionally, we need to know the distribution of the average clicks under two possible experiments, using Bootstrap and with rapidly growing large samples. The sample keeps growing with individuals suspiciously copying the elegant George's style. Let's imagine that Google wants to test two places on their search engine to put an ad for mouse food to see where more clicks are made on the advertisement. Right below the search bar, or halfway down the first search results. These will be configurations A and B, respectively. On the other hand, the number of times an individual is chosen in a Bootstrap sample follows a binomial distribution within individuals and a probability of 1 over n. Now, distribution theory tells us that if n is large, we can use the Poisson approximation with a parameter of 1. And you'll see our Bootstrap no longer depends on n, which, in our case, keeps growing constantly. Pay attention. Here comes an idea that will make you regret not having had it yourself. The millions of data points in the sample won't have to go through any loop. To give you an idea, here we have the clicks made by each individual, with their identifier, on each brand X, Y, and Z, according to whether they were in experiment A or B. What we'll do is, keeping the click data fixed, we randomly assign the importance of each brand in each iteration. This way, by assigning a weight per brand using a Poisson distribution, we are comparing apples to apples. On the other hand, this weighting system means we don't have to touch the original sample. For each bootstrap iteration, we calculate the weighted average of the clicks for each experiment. In the end, we have the empirical distributions of the averages for A and B. Which configuration is better? Putting the mouse food right below the search bar. What we guessed.
Y efectivamente, en un mundo tan lleno de datos como nuestro, estas técnicas nos están ayudando a comprender procesos muy complejos sin necesidad de saber sus distribuciones teóricas. Ahora, por favor, llévate estos ratones que me dan miedo.
Of course, Fatima.